now it is time to make part 6, where I discuss the crimes of the trimmers. So, you saw in the last video where I caught Branston by an accident. I was trimming under his throat, and there were two problems. First is the way I had allowed him to hold his head while I was touching him with the trimmers and while he had the lick on the stick, because his head was curled round too much, which forced some of his flesh into the clippers, just handily demonstrating on myself. And the other is that these clippers themselves, I didn't buy them to do stuff with horses. I actually have another set which are here, which are just kind of little trimmers. They're real cheap ones. The ones I take in my kit bag when I go particularly see dogs with grooming related issues, but also use them with horses just for desensitisation because they're not very noisy, so it's a great place to start. But we'll notice these clippers are smooth. See? Smooth. These clippers have this weird little curve, and I didn't really pay attention to that because I'd normally have used these ones, or bear with, I'd use the big boys. Again, smooth, smooth, less likely to stab. So we have smooth clippers, stabby clippers, combined with poor head positioning. So 2020 hindsight is a wonderful thing. So what I can do in future is make sure I factor in where the pony is bending his neck in relation to the trimmers. That would really help. I could also not use these ones, but I also need to say what I did do, and I didn't film it because you could say I was rattled in that last one. Oh no, I've made a mistake. That pressure in my head, which was also, the vet is coming tomorrow. So I had a choice. Either carry on and clip them in the session I was in, given I had no time in the rest of the day because of all my other commitments, or I do it before the vet arrives in the morning, which if it was to go wrong again, I am causing the pony stress before the vet's even got a kind of a hand in, and he was already going to find that difficult because he was going to have a intravenous sedation via his jugular vein, so obviously that involves a needle. He was going to have an unfamiliar person come in. He's a pony who's already got pain sensitivities. Didn't really want to add to his list of troubles on the morning of the vet, so I went, right, we've got to do it now or we leave him furry, and the poor vet is then trying to find where on earth his vein is. So I elected to clip him. The way I did it was I did use restraint. I restrained the pony. I put, sorry, not a real pony obviously, but for illustrative purposes we will use my friendly hobby horse Fritz here that used to belong to my son. It's a terrible bit. It's like he has to have his mouth open all the time because it's so awful. But basically I held him by the bridle here, well, by the halter. I didn't use a bridle, and I placed the clippers on facing that way because I had realised about the stabbing, so I was going down instead of the normal against the coat. I decided to go down because then I can't as easily stab, and I held them on him, and when he basically stayed still I took them off, and then I put them on, and when he was still I took them off. So mostly he didn't really move that far. He certainly didn't move his feet, but he did squirm his head away a little bit, so I did keep them in place until he stood still, and then I started just clipping down his coat until a suitable size patch was cleared. So that's how I did that. I didn't film it. I wish I had actually, because it would have been useful, because sometimes we just have to do what we have to do. And there can be, especially in the positive reinforcement community, we want to do things as kind of nicely and as consent-based as possible, but we don't always have that possibility, and so there are other kind of least bad ways of doing it. So yes, I applied restraint through a head collar. Pony didn't really try to move away. Birch Branson didn't try to walk away. He just squirmed his head away. He didn't like it, to be fair. I mean, he wouldn't, if he didn't want to stand for it voluntarily for a lick, you know, he didn't like it. But it got done in a way that was quick and didn't hurt him because I didn't have to stab him again. And in 10 months' time, well, less than that actually, he'll be due some more dentistry. He did have really bad hooks because he hadn't been done for a while, and that was contributing to the pain as well as the pain from the inflammation over his crest. So I'm glad we did what we did, and sorry I also did not film the vet arriving, but the vet had never worked with me with a pony like this before, and I didn't want to put her under additional pressure of being filmed while she was learning the protocol that we were actually using for doing the vaccine as well, which is very similar to the protocol all along, which is what I call my wax on wax off protocol, which is vet steps forward to the pony gets lick, vet steps back, lick goes away, vet does the same a few times, and then we add in vet touches pony, lick goes on, vet's hand goes off, lick goes off, then she scratched him with her nails where she was going to inject him, and then we did the injection, and he didn't move, he didn't like it, he did have his lick, then he was sedated, and his dentistry went very smoothly. So there we are, job done.